me tell you what Barack and I believe. We believe we need a health care reform in this nation so that people with insurance, like their members, have more security, and people without coverage have a fighting chance to get it. We believe we need an energy policy in order to be able to sustain our role in the world in the 21st century, a fundamental change in energy policy. We believe that to outcompete the world in the 21st century, which we must do and we have the wherewithal to do, we have to out-educate the world. We believe we can make all that happen. In fact, we believe we must make it happen. Look, we inherited, as John referenced, a god-awful economic situation. What I began to call, as John will remember, back in, I think, as early as February, the Great Recession. People initially made fun of me saying the Great Recession. It wasn't an idle phrase. This is the single worst recession we've had, short of a depression. Short of a depression. As a matter of fact, when Barack and I called John in November from Chicago to ask for his advice about our economic plan, that's literally the case. We were sitting with 25 to 35 economists of all political stripes. And the first discussion we had, Laura, was, when you get in office, are you going to have to first declare a bank holiday? People have short memories, and that's good in one sense. My deceased wife used to say the greatest gift God gave man was the ability to forget. My mother would quickly add, that's true, if it weren't for that, every woman would only have one child. But all kidding aside, how quickly we forget where we were just 8.5 months ago, 9 months ago. When we came in office, there were 40,000 jobs lost the month we were sworn in. Close to 650 the next month. Banks weren't talking about recapitalizing, John, as you educated me. They were talking about closing their doors. Remember all the discussion, John, about how many were so upside down they were literally bankrupt and would need to be closed? We're in the midst of very difficult times. And the frustrating, sometimes frustrating task of climbing out of this recession. Because look, folks, you know, where I come from is like where you come from. It's literally impossible, understandable, to tell a man or woman who just lost their job that things are getting better. Even when we have saved over 1 million jobs in the last 9 months, created or saved. Independent verifiers now, it's not just us. The street, major econometric models are acknowledging that. But I don't blame people for being excited and mad at us. Look, folks, that's part of the role of government. It's part of the role of being vice president. You got to be mad at somebody. It doesn't mean you're opposed to that somebody. I want to tell you something. They closed down my General Motors plant when I was a senator. They told us it was the last shift. So I went out there at 6 o'clock in the morning like I did when I needed to go. And I stood there with every shift as they were being not just laid off, their plant was being closed. And they walked by and they grabbed my hand. I reached them and I said, damn it, they'd pull their hand away. And they hollered at me and they cursed at me. But 95% of those men and women, before they got halfway across the parking lot, walked back and said, Joe, thanks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Can you do anything, pal? Can you do anything? People get it. It's not confused their anger. It goes Finnegan. And this is God's truth. He'd say, you know, Joey, when the guy in Manuka, which is a place outside of Scranton, the guy in Manuka is out of work. It's an economic slowdown. When your brother-in-law is out of work, it's a recession. When you're out of work, it's a depression. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a depression for thousands of your members. It's a depression for millions of Americans who find themselves in this position through no fault of their own. They played by the rules. They showed up. They were productive. And because of the policies, primarily, but not only, of the last 8 years, they got caught in the middle. So, ladies and gentlemen, our number one job is getting this economy back on track. But, you know, we're not going to measure our success. We're not going to claim success just based on whether the GDP is growing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are technically out of the recession, the experts tell us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about, the experts are saying there may be actually net growth in the GDP this fourth quarter or the first quarter of next year. But folks, if we come out like we did before, where the growth rate is significant, but we've left the middle class behind, and that's not success. A job is more than a paycheck. It's about dignity. You understand the psychological and emotional loss for a man or a woman whose whole identity is tied to the fact that they're able to provide for their family, no longer being able to provide for their family. It ain't just a paycheck. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about being able to, you know, my dad had the expression, you know, I believe the longest walk a man and woman can make is up a short flight of stairs to their child's bedroom. To tell their child, honey, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to stay in Cooper School. You're going to have to move. I can't keep you in Holy Rosary. You just can't do it. I'm sorry, honey, but you're not going to play the same little league team. You got to leave the football team because Dad lost his job. We're about to lose the household. That's the longest walk a man or woman can make in America. And millions of your brothers and sisters, people we care about,